Welcome to Keep Trucking Personal, where we invite you to explore the heart and soul of our company, Kivi Bros Trucking. Through engaging storytelling, insightful market updates, and vibrant energy, our podcast reflects our culture, values, and achievements. Whether you're a team member or industry enthusiast, join us to build connections, foster growth, and inspire excellence. Discover why we're more than just a company. We're a community, a catalyst for positive change, and a home for those aspiring to be part of something extraordinary. The pre-trip is complete and engines ready. We're set to hit the road on the Keep Trucking Personal podcast. Let's go.
Welcome to Keep Trucking Personal. My name is Tyler Kivi, and I have Michael Hansen with me today. As I said last week, I'm still hoping to nudge him towards a co-host here. I think that would be great for the podcast in the future episodes. But Michael, glad to have you on here again.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited, as usual.
The last week for me specifically, so I was in Duluth, last week before recording this, and it was starting to cool down, and then I'm back in Kentucky and it's cooling down again, and it's definitely feeling like fall. We had a chili cook-off down here at the office in Kentucky. I didn't get first place. I was hoping for that, but it's starting to feel like fall, and that's one of my favorite times is getting that spicy. So I made a sweet, smoky, spicy chili with venison. So it was kind of bringing it right back. But you were out hunting out west last week. Got to feel a little of that fall air.
Yeah. Took the dog out pheasant hunting. We left Friday and we got back Tuesday, so just short and sweet. But we did well. Super dry out there. That was nuts. But my dog did well. Her name's Echo. You've probably seen her in some of the videos. But we got our birds. But yeah, we had to work a little bit this year. Most years it was kind of like boom, boom right away in the morning. We got our limit, walked away. But definitely saw weather take a part out there. It's all on that western side. I mean, even up here it's really dry, but it was extremely dry out there. So if you know anything about bird dogs, as far as pointers, I have a pointer, German Wirehair. The moisture really holds the bird's scent for them. So when it's super dry, it's a little tougher on the dogs to pick up on that scent. But obviously, if they get over one, they're going to find it. But I wouldn't be surprised if we walked by quite a few because they were holding well. But there's just no scent out there, no moisture.
So I remember the last few times you went hunting, like Echo, your dog is like strung out when she's done for a moment. Oh, yeah. Was she just like that again? Like her adrenaline's got her cashed in?
Oh yeah. So like on the way out, it's the drive, and I have both dogs with me, and they just sit and pant right over my shoulder, like in the back seat. We got a divider, and just panting, and passing gas. I mean, they're just strung out. They should be probably just kenneled up in the box, but I have a tonneau cover, and their kennels don't really fit underneath it. But they're just bonkers. Mm-hmm. And we go out hunt, and they run and they run and they run. Like a lot of people like put a pedometer on your dog, but now they have collars with GPSs, but I already have my collar. I'm not going to go buy a new collar if I have a perfectly good collar, but it would be interesting to see how many steps these dogs put on because it's crazy. I mean, they're just
So ripping. Were her paws bleeding again when you were done?
Yeah, they get chafed up, especially when it's like that dry. But yeah, they're definitely like the weeds. They'll give them paper cuts in between the webbing of their feet and stuff like that. And you can't put boots on. I mean, some people put boots on their dog, but mine looks like it's not a good thing.
It doesn't work.
It's like walking on like needles almost. They're like real
lifting their legs
around.
Up like that.
Yeah, like tiptoeing around and stuff. But yeah, they get torn up. I mean, between some barbed wire, stuff like that. I mean, but they don't miss a beat. There was 2 years ago, Echo ripped a whole chunk of her skin right off of her leg. Like you could see the tendons and bone, everything like down. And she's probably 40 yards or so ahead of me. And I saw her tongue like lick like blood on it. And I'm like, what? She'd bite her tongue or whatever and go up. And she's like, nothing was wrong. Like she just was ready to hunt again. That adrenaline is just pumping. Here her leg is just ripped open. We take her up to get her fixed up, and then the adrenaline goes away, and they're just dead. They're like limping, like, oh my gosh, like the dog at home just baby, I'm sore. But yeah, after we hunt and you go home, you can't even get them out of the truck to take go pee. Like you stop at a rest area, like, all right, I kind of have to force them out of the truck. And so a totally different type of dog when you're going out there versus when you're coming back. They just burn off all their energy, and they don't like to eat very good when they're hunting. They just their mind is off in different areas, and then when they do get back to like camp, they just shut down. They just lay there and just rest. So it's tough to get them to eat sometimes. So you mix in a little wet food with their dry food and get them.
Try to get them excited about it again.
Yeah, try to get them eating again, because they'll still run the next day, no problem. But it's like, that's not good. But they'll drop some pounds and then get home, and like Echo, I don't think she's really been herself. She won't be like back to her normal self till probably Monday.
Wow.
Like she'll still get up, like walk around, eat, but like it's not, our full blown Echo yet.
It's not recovered fully from. It's amazing. I know, and we obviously have a lot of drivers with dogs, whether it's a service dog, and I don't know of many that have hunting dogs, but I'd be curious to hear if anyone's, because you went through all the training and all that to get her set up to do that, and now it's just like riding a bike for her. Do you have to warm her up per se?
I try to bring her around out here, like walk her around and look for some grouse and stuff like that. But it's in them. I mean, even Echo, if you get a good hunting dog from a good bloodline, it's just there. Like truckers. It's in your blood, Like it's there, so it doesn't take a lot. It's mainly get them, like for Echo wise, it was mainly get her used to the electricity on her shock collar, because it's called nicking them. So you just nick them, and it gives it just a little shot to, like, if they're not listening, or they're really just honed in on this bird, and it's not, we don't want them getting too far out, so they break other birds if they're chasing one or something. So you give them a nick to come back, but usually you only have to do that the first day or so, and then all of a sudden it's like a light bulb clicks on with them, like, oh, I remember what we're doing, all right. Or that first bird, it's always the first bird you shoot at, and then it's like they're up there smelling it, they grab it, bring it back to you, and then they're, all right, boom. Dead bird is down, dropped in front of you. They do not care about a dead bird anymore. They don't care about feathers. They don't care about anything. They know, it's like they reassure themselves of a dead bird versus a live bird, and now it's game on. Let's go. And
next one, let's go.
They get like by the second, third day hunting. I mean, they're just lights out. They're back in action. But it does help if you can get them out to, obviously a little bit beforehand. But it never fails once that first bird drops. They get stoked. But for the most part, them dogs, it's crazy to see how that bloodline, it's just in their natural instinct to get after birds. So,
and it's kind of like I said, the temperature's cool and chilly, cook off. Fall is here, especially when you're able to go bird hunting, and it really setting the tone, and it's not far ahead of us here, and we'll have Halloween, right? Like we're already getting ready to crest into November, and for me, the next 60 plus days to almost go into a blur, because I feel like it's Halloween, and then it's November, and then all of a sudden it's Thanksgiving, and then you're getting ready. And in trucking, obviously our drivers live abroad, they're all over the place, and then you're navigating that home time, and pretty soon it's New Year. Like it comes very fast. So, with that being said, I want to talk a little bit about preparation, right? Being prepared for the fall, the winter. And I know we've done some topics already on like tire chains and being prepared, but I think there's just some housekeeping things that we can kind of roll through. And I know one of them we were just talking about, as always, tire pressure is important, and we want to make sure that everybody's paying attention to that. But I think you had a good point earlier when you're talking prior to this episode. There was some confusion about our tire pass and drivers being able to get a meal paid for after they use tire pass. What do you have to say, I guess, to clear that up?
Yeah, so I was in our miles per gallon meeting with Bob Bodine. Many of you listening probably know Bob from calling, just trying to coach up how to get some better fuel mileage and tips and tricks with the trucks and stuff like that. But he had said that a lot of the drivers that he spoke with, because we're not seeing a massive amount of folks going in for this, they thought it was just for the Driver Appreciation Week. He's heard that multiple times, which I told him get with the driver managers, make sure they're relaying that this is year long. This isn't just for, the one for the Driver Appreciation Week. You didn't have to put a Love's Tire Pass in. You could have just went and got a meal on us up to $15. That was just for that week. But following that week, every time you get a tire pass, each week, if you get a tire pass, and then you can bring a receipt, tie a receipt to it up to $15, whether that's groceries or your favorite place to eat, or you ran into the Love's while your tire pass was getting done and grabbed some Hardee's, or stocked up the fridge with water, or whatever it is you want, up to $15. So a lot of guys thought it was only for Driver Appreciation Week. Nope, that was the one that you didn't need a tire pass for. Now everything following, it's all yours.
Tire pass. And we get that. Like if you use tire pass, you don't have to send in a special tire pass, do you? You just, because we see that.
We get it too. It's probably easier, quicker for reimbursement wise if you tie them both together. Yeah, but if you didn't, just write on the receipt, I did a tire pass. I know it's just cleaner and faster to get your money back to you. That would help if you tied them both together and vectored them in. We do have a report we can run out of our Loves portal to see who has done it and who has not. But at this point,
that's a double whammy. And as far as opportunity, right? You get the free meal, free whatever. I guess at this point, it doesn't matter, $15 worth of whatever you turn in a receipt for. But then you hopefully increase your MPG safety. Like everything has benefit to the positive from making sure you use a tire pass. I know there's been some challenges, obviously, with the tire pass system itself, like the certain Loves not having it ready to go or not having a technician. Keep your head up and keep trying. We want to see that number grow. Our goal is to improve MPG, improve our tire wear, as well as benefit you on the safe incentive where you can get a higher MPG because properly inflated tires has a lot of opportunity. And I think, I can't remember, Michael, if we talked about this or this was just in an MPG meeting, but you actually lose horsepower with underinflated tires.
Correct.
Something, as drivers talk about wanting a big truck or wanting this or more horsepower, one of the things that you can do to keep your horsepower up at peak, whatever comes from the factory, is properly inflated tires. So good thing to touch on. Like you said, there's a few drivers out there already that are using it, and they understand that it's anytime, every week throughout the whole year. Just to clear up any of that confusion, this is
and two, to touch on the drivers that are doing it. It's interesting. I just saw one of the drivers that has been doing it well before the $15. I bumped up to $15. He just does it. He must have it down to a science, but he's an advocate for it. But I just see him drive by. His tires look beautiful. The truck looks beautiful. I looked up on like how much he's broke down as far as for tire related issues or scale related issues. There's none. It's amazing. He pays attention to that, and that's huge. But yeah, you lose horsepower. Everything kind of winds into that. And the more and more the scales are looking for that stuff with their thermal readings and things like that, boy, I don't care who you are. I've said this in other podcasts. You still get that little hair on the back of your neck when you got to go into that scale, because you can pick up a nail right before it, and that tire goes lower on air, and boom, they're going to find it.
Yeah, there's
a lot of good benefits from that.
It's all about building habits, and the more you pay attention to your tires, the more you try to use tire pass, the more you think about that. Like you said, it has positive outcomes and less breakdowns. I mean, we could go on and on and on about the benefits, and it's more than just the tire pass, but you get proper readings. We get tread depths when they send it in. We're able to say, hey, all of a sudden we recognize that your trailer's got low tread depths. We need to get ahead of this. So just a bunch of things to benefit from using it. So yeah, anyone tire pass, $15 a week, it's out there. It's your opportunity. Please use it. And that leads into another thing which we've talked about before, tire chains, which most of our trucks are outfitted with it. I think this is probably a little redundant talking about it, but it's still something to make sure that if there was a chance you had to ever get really light on weight and you took those chains off, or some reason, they broke, or you had to peel them off the side of your truck, let's make sure you get those back on. Any trip out west now, it's required.
I think I've seen one so far, knock on wood. I've only seen one request for some tire chains when a guy was going out west, but I mean, that's pre-planning. That's if you don't have them, that's part of the pre-trip. You got to look for that and make sure you're equipped for that stuff, especially if you're ramping up to take a load out west.
And hopefully you're already out west. Like if you're on the eastern side of the country and you're going west, or it's Midwest, like at least you can get tire chains at a reasonable cost as well. You're not kind of like held against it's a requirement now. Where
Basic Donner is not the cheapest place to buy tire chains. I'll tell you right now.
In Denver, trying to find tire chains.
It's one, they're hard to find, but at some spots. But yeah, I mean, truck stops, you go to just a dealership and they're $112 for a bag, and you go to a truck stop and they're pushing $300 now. It's like
highway robbery in a sense.
Definitely taking advantage of the trucking industry. That is right there a prime definition of that. There's no reason truck stops need to be charging these prices for that stuff when we all know what it actually costs. So when trucking companies see that stuff, it's a slap in the face, because I know what I can get those for, and they're buying way more than I am. So it's
right.
I know
they're 3 times the price,
correct.
and that's just what we can get them at. So
Correct.
yeah, we can go on and on again with like this is an opportunity. Every driver has impact on the company's success, and I think sometimes drivers forget that, and even office staff, anyone really, mechanics.
Yep.
Yeah, I think people sometimes think they're just a cog in a wheel, right? Like, hey,
Yep.
I'm one of hundreds. They won't notice me, or they won't notice that, and that's not the case. It takes everybody thinking alike and everybody trying to perform at best and be safe to be successful full circle. So,
Absolutely.
tarps is another one. I want to make sure we get ahead. It's that fall, winter season, in the flatbed game, tarps are, there's many customers we have that were lift tarp restrictions in the summer. Now that's coming back. We haven't seen snow fly yet, knock on wood, but I'm going to assume, Halloween is sometimes tricky. Like there's spots that have snow dustings. It's very, very close. So let's make sure that we're prepared. We have tarps that we know have been opened up. You've looked at them. Things to think of as well when you're putting those tarps away is, when they freeze together, like they're a big ball, like trying to take advantage of sometimes the southern heat. And that might mean on a 34, hey, let's open those up and fully dry them out. If you came out of a snowstorm and they're an ice block, get ahead of things, take that time you have and use it to benefit you. But yeah, so tarps, tire chains, using tire pass, a few things just focused around the truck that
and
want to make sure.
For the tarps, as long as you're on that Sean Porter's videos on tarping, all rolling them up and just getting overall tarp care and tarping. I thought that was some of the best videos. I mean, they're all great, but that just hit on all the heads. I know there's a lot of them, but that's why there's a lot, because they're can do them in small doses. But he has tons of tips for that. If you're a flatbedder listening to this right now, I don't care who you are. There's nothing worse than a bunch of water wrapped up in your tarp, and then it freezes and you have to deal with that again. You get them real tight and bungeed correctly, way less likely for that issue to arise anyway.
Yeah.
So watch some of those videos in preparation for the things you just discussed, because they are very beneficial.
Yeah. And the good thing with those videos is they're accessible anywhere. You might have watched it a month ago, 2 months ago, but hey, if you want a refresher, hey, what's the best way, fastest way, most efficient way, the most consistent way, so everybody's doing it the same, so that way when you give a tarp to somebody else, vice versa, you're not like, what is going on here? This thing's rolled backwards, inside out. So
been part of that, and it's not fun.
Working together, like I said, every driver has influence. It rolls downhill. If you turn a tarp in that's rolled inside out, somebody's going to get that. Like it goes the same for dropping a trailer with bad tires. If you don't take pictures or send it into fleet, if maintenance doesn't know about those tires and it's not flagged in our system, the next driver that goes to hook up to it will deal with that issue. It's just how it works.
Correct.
So, and we welcome information like that. Even if you think your tires are getting close, but there's not flat, any of that, hey, send it in. Let's get some dialogue going, because then we can talk about it. But, I always like to think, because even sometimes you can feel like you're just that little cog in the wheel, and like what you do doesn't impact when it really does big time. And I think while we're talking about tires again, another thing that has come up recently is axles open and axles closed. Understanding what your weights are, understanding what states require you to have them open or closed, and then understanding that as we talk about tire wear and MPG and turning radius and the benefits of that, why don't you tell us more about axles open, axles closed, weights, and what's the best way to use it?
Absolutely. There's no hiding it. Just maneuverability for one. And everybody listen out there, you can't tell me, because I see it, sidewalls cut in tires and things like that from trying to get into these tight areas. And, van freight's a lot different. You got tandem axles that can slide, all over the place, and they're easier to maneuver around than a 53-foot flat with a spread axle application. And two, it's just good rule of thumb to start getting used to loading that. We still service Connecticut, Florida, California, go up into Canada. You still need to be prepared and ready to load these loads in a tandem configuration. You can load a tandem all the way up to 80,000. It's just, you got to get used to that. Correct. You got to get used to it. And I definitely know the feeling of being at a shipper receiver. Well, I shouldn't say that, shipper, and you're the guy up next. There's a line of trucks up behind you, and you're kind of nervous because maybe it's something you never loaded before or whichever. But I promise everything gets harder after you leave that shipper, and they're like, okay, I'll just load it into a spread right now, and we'll deal with it down the road. It doesn't get any better. So take the opportunity to load it correctly. Correct. Take the time to load it correctly. But even if you're not going into those areas, tandem configuration is just way easier on tires. You have so much more maneuverability, and it's just good practice,
Well, I think when you talk about loading and testing yourself, right? Like, hey, this load isn't 48,000. Let's focus on trying to load it in a closed axle configuration. So have your axles closed prior to the shipper, right? So you're not in their parking lot trying to slam these things around. But then also after you're loaded, going to a cat scale and weighing, and then looking at the gauges and understanding that, because if you're flat and level and aired up properly, and I think Sean Porter would test this, you can get very close to what the weights are just off your gauges. Mm-hmm. You can be able to flip that door open, look at the trailer gauge, look at your tractor gauge. Of course, the tractor gauge isn't always detailed right to the pound. Some of them are, you got to guess, but you get the gist. Like, hey, I haven't seen my drive axles this heavy, this high pressure right now. I'm thinking I'm heavy. Or same for the trailer. Like, hey, how am I have my axles closed. You should know that you're 40,000 back there with your axles closed just by looking at the gauge.
Yep.
It shouldn't be at a state scale.
Nope.
Like, these are the things, the homework that sets a driver up for success over and over again, is getting into those habits. I'm loaded, I'm scaling, right? We pay for cat scales, so it's there. You can do it through your app. Like, things get quicker. Things that technologies benefit the drivers in that spot, but getting used to that, keeping a notebook. Sean probably has a notebook with a lot of his axle weights with multiple different types of loads and the pressures. And he'll tell you that that's what's helped him become successful, is by working through that. So it's there to talk about 34,000 on a closed, especially in the US, right? 34,000 on a closed tandem, 40,000 on our axles open or spread. And obviously we could go on and on into certain states allow different weights, and Canada's weights, but the generic rule of thumb is if you can master that 34,000 or less with a closed tandem, or, if it's necessary based on where the load's placed, 40,000 with them open, but pay attention, scale, take advantage of that.
I liked what you said there. You don't have to, let's take it one bite at a time. Don't start with a 48,000 pound load, or what, if you're not going to one of them states that requires the axle to be closed, but start with your easy ones. Oh, I got a 23,000 pound load here. Get in that habit of just sliding them onto axles closed and belly load it. You're going to be fine. I still say cat scale, because they're a lot more friendly than the state scales. Trust me, I see it a lot. But start with the little loads that or you're going to be, this will be an easy one, and just get them easy layups. It's all about the easy layups. Speaking of fall, basketball season starting back up, easy layups, get the wins, get the little ones. Keep them scales guessing on you. Don't give them the easy stuff, whether it's tire related or any tire chains, anything.
And most time that's become an issue, like, say I'm overweight, this or that, and obviously we always hope that it's at a cat scale if you left the shipper already versus a state scale. But most of the time when we do a little bit of a root cause analysis, like what happened here, right? And excluding the driver, you look at the route, and there's usually a scale of some sort that we could have utilized to verify our weights.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point. If we can't find a cat scale, call in. We'll find something somewhere, whether it's a recycle center or somebody that if they're going to charge us or they're going to let us use it, whatever, the option's still there, just because there's not a cat
question Sean, right? Yeah. Hey, here's my gauges. Here's a picture of my load. Here's what the bill of lading says for weight, and if it's right up against weight, you'll get your best judgment. And, once again, we're always on the driver's side. We know that shippers, there's been so many times where the ticket says this, you get to a cat scale and you're like, this is not even in the ballpark of what they said the load weighs. So, that's one of the main reasons. You might have it loaded perfect based on the weight we were told, but as, trust but verify process, you get to that cat scale and you're 3,000 pounds overweight. There's nothing, unless you're reading those gauges perfectly, that we can go back and take care of it then. And that's kind of the workflow, but making sure that the axles, things like you said, I think that's test yourself, work through it. There's always a way to challenge yourself out there. and ask for questions. Start with the smaller loads. Maybe it's, like you said, a lighter one. Let's not bury ourselves with a 48,000 pound load of lumber. And if you miss that by a foot, all of a sudden because you can easily kind of gridlock yourself too a little bit if you're too heavy on one end. Slide your axles open and now it dumps it all on your drives.
And there's nothing worse than you got a shipper and you're like, yeah, I'll load it right here. And then the guy's like, are you sure? It says something different or whatever. And he still loads it. And then boom, you're over. And now we have to move it again. We know the struggles there, but that's why it's nice, like I said, use them little layups of just easier loads and start with that and just build off of that, because it's just going to make everything a lot easier and more fluent with yourself.
Yeah, definitely. One of the main things we always focus on is our safe score through Motive. And obviously, I think we've made great progress. We've found kind of our median, which is 93. Our safety score seems like a 93. Of course, 100 is the best, and that's company wide. And we're proud of that 93, but I think it's worth talking about what is lowering that 93 safety score from 100. And the top issue that we're seeing is still speeding. And now, once again, trust but verify. If you're getting an alert that the speed is, picking up a frontage road and that you're on the interstate and something's not right, we want you to send an email to safety, give a call, whatever. We will get that removed because we don't want it to penalize anyone and we don't want it a false reading. But we have to make sure that we're coming into this fall, like we said, slippery roads, greasy roads, snow, ice. We need to get back to the mindset of following distance and stopping and pushing the envelope is very risky, especially when the road is slippery.
Yeah, everybody out there, we all see it, whether you drive an 18-wheeler or a motorcycle. It doesn't matter. That first snow, that first ice storm, that first everything and no matter what state you're in, people are scattering everywhere. They're sliding all over the place. Slow it down. Don't be one of those people. Start watching for that stuff. Get used to slowing down right now. It's just, I can see it through Motive that, speeding's still up in there. Thankfully, it's only a small percentage of our drivers that are really smashing on that thing. So we'll work with them and continue to work with them and hopefully that changes. But especially when the ice and the snow is coming, it's speed and those things do not mix, especially with the following too close is a pretty powerful one right behind speeding. And that's definitely not what you want when the roads turn bad. There's nothing more scary than being behind the wheel of anything and you cannot stop. You're going. Anybody who's has experienced that's listening right now, they're probably like, yeah, there's nothing worse. And that's not even saying if there's something in front of you. Even if you're just sliding, it's never fun. But yet, put a school bus in front of you now, or a bunch of kids out trick or treating. All of that stuff. It's not good. A lot of people still walking around schools, things like that. We talked about school bus safety, but add ice to that, add snow to that. Slow her down, open up the following distance.
Well, I think it's important that, part of the reason we joined Motive, and again, this probably sounds like a broken record, but is to be the best trucking company there is. Yep. And with that comes expectations, and we expect our drivers to perform as such. They have the keys to know where they can improve. They have the keys to see it all, the transparency, everything, right? So this is a team effort. Yeah. But speeding, close following. We're really proud with the distracted driving and where we're at with that. I think it's just now, you have to be extra cautious on what's going on in front of you. And
make it full circle here. When I was hunting, believe it or not, I was hunting with he's retired. I believe he's retired, but he retired out of OSHA. Great dude, but the stuff, all of these other industries, including ourselves, but as far as like you go to any other profession, the safety regulations are through the roof, and like the employees you have to do this or you don't have a job anymore. And I think that's, why trucking's so free, because at the end of the day, in the cab, it is up to you. As far as these safety standards, it doesn't matter what industry you go in, they're going to find you. They're going to find you. They're going to weed you out. They're going to make you comply because there's reasons this stuff is there. There's data behind it. We built it throughout how many years, but it was interesting to talk with him just about, how severe it gets. We've all been into mines and things like that where there's a massive OSHA presence and stuff like that. But it just doesn't matter. You talk to people that work at the mill here in Cloquet, safety, with a side of safety. It doesn't matter where you go. This industry is no different. We demand safety. We demand high-level drivers out there keeping the roads safe and themselves safe. And there's no other option behind that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. That's the biggest opportunity in transportation is safe driving. Like that, no matter how you look at it. Once again, like I think sometimes the guy or gal thinks, hey, it's a little fender bender. They have all kinds of drivers out there. Like we feel and talk about every incident. Every incident. There's not one that goes by and we're like, oh, that was minor. Like, hey, don't you worry about it. It's good. No, we talk about it. We go through it. And then even after we're done talking about it and we're trying to figure out, it shows up as a bill later on and we talk about it again. Like it is there. So if you think, hey, I just haven't heard from anybody, and we're obviously trying to get better there is recognition and positive driving attributes and all of that. And, we're not perfect. We're not trying to claim we are. We know that, but we want to work together and help build the best trucking company there is. So every little, even if I think sometimes somebody thinks, hey, I backed into something and I ripped up the back of the trailer, maybe not bad, just bent the rub rail or something. We pay attention to that. We talk about it. We see it. Many people see it. It's not just one. So we're always questioning, how can we do? What can we do? Where could we place this driver in a better spot? Is there information that we need to do? And sometimes information overload is kind of like how we can only give a driver a manifest that's 40 pages long with, so it just is all about building those habits. Like you said, bite-sized habits, starting with the things we've talked about already. Getting your tires aired up once a week.
Yep, those are all expectations of any truck driver. Those are things that any company you work for, those are things that to be successful and to be the best of the best, those are things that you master those things. And if you're not mastering them, then you're not trying to make this career, all it can be. So
yeah. Well, then we're not even tying the opportunity of money to be made with going through all those clean inspections, which is a benefit of that high MPG production not being broke down, so on and so on of good. So we've talked about motive, that's one of the things we talk about a lot, and we live and eat, sleep, and breathe by it. We've went through all of the fall conversations, and I think one of the fall conversations leads to our end dump division. Our end dump division is primarily the most busy in the winter because we supply a lot of road salt and things of that nature to help keep the roads clean and safe and so there's traction. But we do have opportunity coming up with 5 additional end dumps. These are going to be road ready probably pretty soon. You thinking another few weeks here?
I would think, by the start of November I'd like to see them, because that's kind of obviously depending on how the weather or winter goes here, but hopefully we have a good winter for that, whether it's snow, ice, whichever, that's always a strong, busy time just to maintain the roads so people can stop and not slide around, But we have hopefully by the start of November, but a great opportunity to be local here. You've seen our trucks run around if you're listening to this and you're in the area of this hiring area, which would be based out of Duluth. You see our trucks run around. There's lots of end dump work around the Twin Ports, and if you're ready to make a change or you want to try something new and want to go jump on some end dump, I know your uncle Robbie. He always has somebody following them, just whoever's training. If they're not super confident or don't know the routes or you want to know how Kivi does it, Robbie's always there to drive around with the guy. We have a lot of great crew. It seems like they're a good little crew there, that whether they're running together.
For sure.
Yep, absolutely. It's a good gig, and we run nice equipment. I would assume I'm excited to see that hiring open up and see who we can get in and put in some seats and go haul some stuff.
Yeah. So whether you're here or you're not in this local opportunity, you live in the Duluth area, or within a very close vicinity, this is an opportunity for you. So end dump work opening up very soon with an addition of 5 trucks and end dump trailers. That's exciting, and that's, like you said, it's a good little group. There's help there. If you're not like, hey, I've never done this, we have the ability to train you and pair you up so that you're set up for success.
Yep, and the good part is the loader that loads you has a scale in the bucket, so you're good.
Scale there, you get scaled before you leave.
Yep. There's the DOT around this area sees our end dumps a lot, because obviously that's anywhere you leave Duluth, there's pretty much a scale you're going to have to see at some point. Even one of our drivers, he's kind of the guy who kind of likes to chat with the guys. He's even chatting with the state patrol as he goes over the scale. Sometimes he'll stand out there and say, "How you doing today?" "Pretty good." You just start building that like kind of local feel anyway, and get to know a lot of people. But it's also nice where you can drive a nice rig and hopefully, keep that rig nice. And it's a good department of ours. I'm excited to watch it grow.
Well, that's kind of where I always started, was that local work. And, everything to do in trucking is still a form of work. So if you like the early mornings, some people really cherish those, like 3-4 in the morning. That's kind of the book of business here. But yeah,
that was our first opportunity to work together there, Tyler.
Hauling end dump stuff.
Yep. Show up. What up? You're running the conveyor, and I'm backing her in, and
it's been around for a long time. The road salt, it hasn't. I mean, that's what my grandpa. He started with logging and then concrete in the summer, concrete culverts, and then eventually it turns into like, well, what are we going to do in the winter when they can't put concrete culverts in the ground? Well, we got to haul road salt to make sure the roads are, you can move on the road and they can get rid of that ice. And then, then it turned into, end dump work and hauling aggregate in the summer. And there's.
Yep. I remember calling back to the office and old Jeff, your dad, where am I going next? Tyler's going up here. Go load up a load of salt and shoot up the meat where you're at. 'Cause back then we had to conveyor it in and
little custom service there. That was fun.
Correct.
That was, but it's still the same thing. You work with the salt sheds and where it's at. So to wrap full circle on that, if you're interested in local work and you live in the Duluth area and end dump is something you've thought about, reach out to really anyone and we can point you in the right direction.
Stop by Duluth if you want. Swing by, say hi, or reach out to an recruiter, or however. There's lots of ways you can get in contact with us.
Mm-hmm. To kind of wrap up this episode, one of the things that's going to be coming out is a parking map for Duluth, and maybe it has already been sent out, but with snow, we're always trying to prepare for that, right? The last winter was pretty mild, but the winter before that, it was like you guys had mountains of snow.
We had just stack tips sticking out of snow out in the bobtail line. It was crazy.
Yeah, so we're always trying to prepare for that. So there's some spots where we're going to suggest to park and where not to park. And that way we can make sure at 2 a.m. when we get a dump of snow in northern Minnesota that it's plowed and ready for a truck to come in. Because one truck can make it very hard to plow if it's right in the middle of a lane where we're trying to push snow or where we need to dump snow over the edge. So keep an eye out for that. Yeah, we've kind of covered a lot of little pieces, but they're all necessary for doing the job and doing it right. I want to kind of close because I know there's a lot of special things going on around the donations like we talked last week and the hurricane relief. And when this episode airs, that possibly trucks, will be headed down to North Carolina. And it's pretty exciting. I know next week we'll really we'll try to give as much recognition. It's not really about us, but we want to make sure that everybody gets recognition for, if we know that you donated, plenty of people donated anonymously, but we want to give a little special time to those people. So next week we'll talk about that, but it's amazing to think a full van is going to be full. Like that's 40,000+ pounds of goods.
Yep. It is something pretty special. And yes, you're right. The recognition will come, but at the end of the day, it is about the actual people down there. It's not about who did what, who donated this, who did. I mean, that's it's great that these things are happening and things like that. But at the end of the day, it's not about us. It's not about anybody that donated. It's about the people that are receiving the goods. Because at the end of the day, this is why we're doing that. Is people's lives. Let's change them for the good and help anywhere we can. But it's looking really well. I'm excited. I'm hoping, obviously the drivers are probably trucking right now, but after the dust settles, we get that list and the product gets delivered, we'll definitely be doing another one of these and raising, and hopefully we can talk about the success at the unloading. I'm excited to see when they get there, the National Guard there pulling everything out, and a lot of good stuff, tons of good stuff.
I still can't believe the outreach. It's invigorating to know, like, you don't want these type of disasters, but to know that you can have opportunity to benefit, and knowing next time that what can be done, especially at the city, like I said, 40,000 pounds plus of donated goods. Some companies have donated pallets. Some companies have donated half a pallet. Some people have brought just Walmart bags of goods. But to think how many people had to think of a roll of paper towel, toilet paper, that's not very heavy. So to get 40,000+ pounds of material to deliver, it's huge. I can't imagine when they get there and there's like a truckload of clothes and diapers and Clorox and water and on and on and on, flashlights,
everything.
That's
I can go on a list on and on, because there's some stuff, as we were kind of consolidating some of this stuff, I didn't think of sending that down there, but man, that makes sense. And they revised the list a couple times, but it's It's crazy to think how much we got to stuff into that thing.
Well, and I guess you would think that this is, obviously I shouldn't say you would think because we haven't done it, but to be a part of something like this and to help disaster relief wherever it is, because disasters happen all the time. I mean, obviously this is a major one, but there's floods and there's this and there's washouts and crazy. So yeah, it's exciting to know what we can do, and I definitely think you guys that kind of champion this will be pulling that lever, Challenge Duluth, the next time it's needed, and kind of we've learned some of the logistics that go behind it and maybe some of the processes to help speed it up, because the faster we get it to them, the faster they get to use
Absolutely.
the stuff. So very cool. I'm excited to spend time talking about that. I just want to make sure everyone knows this is still going really well. The trailers are intending to leave out on Monday, which is the 21st. And we're going to be heading down that way. We'll try to get some footage of the drivers going down there, footage of unloading, and really just give everybody the warm and fuzzies that they helped improve somebody's life.
Absolutely.
All right, man. Well, it's been a pleasure. I look forward to next week's episode. I'm going to keep inviting you on. Like I said, my goal is to maybe cement in this co-host. We'll see if you're comfortable with that, and we keep working through it, and maybe we'll then take on a special guest as a co-hosting team here. But I appreciate it and look forward to the next one.
Yep. Thank you. Appreciate having me.
Thank you for tuning in to Keep Trucking Personal. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please don't forget to like, share, and comment, or hashtag Challenge Duluth. We want to invite you to do anything you can to help donate and help those people in North Carolina, Florida, wherever. If you have any questions, please reach out to us at podcast@kivibros.com. Until next time, happy trucking.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Keep Trucking Personal. We appreciate you taking the time to explore the heart and soul of Kivi Brothers Trucking with us. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review to let us know your thoughts. Tune in next time as we continue our journey together, diving deeper into what makes us a community, a catalyst for positive change, and a home for those who aspire to be part of something truly extraordinary. Until then, keep trucking, and we'll catch you on the next episode.